Hydrocarbons. A compound made up of hydrogen and carbon atoms only is called hydrocarbon. For example, ethane, ethene, and ethyne. The most important natural source of hydrocarbons is petroleum, which is obtained from underground oil deposits by drilling oil wells. Now you will learn about the types of hydrocarbons. 1. Saturated hydrocarbons and 2. Unsaturated hydrocarbons. Let us discuss them in detail. Let us start with first type of hydrocarbon, that is saturated hydrocarbons. A hydrocarbon in which the carbon atoms are connected by only single bonds is called a saturated hydrocarbon. They are also called alkenes. For example, methane, ethane, propane, and butane, etc. The general formula of alkenes is CnH2n plus 2, where N is the number of carbon atoms in one molecule of the alkene. Let us understand it with an example. If an alkene has one carbon atom in its molecule, then N is equal to 1 and its molecular formula will be C1H2 multiply 1 plus 2, that is CH4. Likewise, if an alkene has two carbon atoms in its molecule, then N is equal to 2 and its molecular formula will be C2H2 multiply 2 plus 2, that is C2H6. The names and molecular formulae of the first 5 saturated hydrocarbons or alkenes are shown in the table below. The saturated hydrocarbons are chemically not very reactive. Let us discuss about second type of hydrocarbon, that is unsaturated hydrocarbons. A hydrocarbon in which the two carbon atoms are connected by a double bond or a triple bond is called an unsaturated hydrocarbon. For example, ethene and ethyne. The unsaturated hydrocarbons are obtained mostly from petroleum by a process called cracking. Unsaturated hydrocarbons are of two types. 1. Alkenes. 2. Alkynes. Let us discuss them in detail. 1. Alkenes. An unsaturated hydrocarbon in which two carbon atoms are connected by a double bond is called an alkene. Alkenes contain a double bond between two carbon atoms which is formed by the sharing of two pairs of electrons. For example, ethene and propene. The general formula of an alkene is CnH2n, where N is the number of carbon atom in its one molecule. Let us understand it with examples. 1. If an alkene has two carbon atoms in its molecule, then N is equal to 2 and its molecular formula will be C2H2 multiply 2, that is C2H4. 2. If an alkene has 3 carbon atoms in its molecule, then N is equal to 3 and its molecular formula will be C3H2 multiply 3, that is C3H6. The names and molecular formulae of the first 3 alkenes are shown on the screen. 2. Alkynes. An unsaturated hydrocarbon is the hydrocarbon in which the two carbon atoms are connected by a triple bond is called an alkyne. Thus, alkynes contain a triple bond between two carbon atoms which is formed by the sharing of 3 pairs of electrons, for example, ethine and propyne. The general formula of alkynes is CnH2n minus 2, where N is the number of carbon atoms in one molecule of the alkyne. Let us understand with examples. 1. If an alkyne has 2 carbon atoms in its molecule, then N is equal to 2 and its molecular formula will be C2H2 multiplied 2 minus 2, that is C2H2. 2. If an alkyne has 3 carbon atoms in its molecule, then N is equal to 3 and its molecular formula will be C3H2 multiplied 3 minus 2, that is C3H4. The names and molecular formulae of the first 3 alkynes are given below. The unsaturated hydrocarbons are more reactive than saturated hydrocarbons, that is, alkenes and alkynes are chemically more reactive than alkanes. Let us understand about shearing of electrons in saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons in detail. The ethane molecule is made up of 2 carbon atoms and 6 hydrogen atoms. In ethene, the 2 carbon atoms share 1 pair of electrons among themselves to form 1 carbon-carbon single covalent bond. Each carbon atom shares 3 electrons with 3 hydrogen atoms to form 3 carbon-hydrogen single covalent bonds. So in ethane, we have 1 carbon-carbon single covalent bond and 6 carbon-hydrogen single covalent bonds. So the total number of covalent bonds in an ethane molecule is 1 plus 6, which is equal to 7. The ethane molecule is made up of 2 carbon atoms and 4 hydrogen atoms. In ethane, the 2 carbon atoms share 2 pairs of electrons among themselves to form a carbon-carbon double bond. Each carbon atom shares 2 electrons with 2 hydrogen atoms to form the 2 carbon-hydrogen single bonds. So the total number of carbon-hydrogen single bonds in ethane is 2 plus 2, which is equal to 4. The ethyne molecule is made up of 2 carbon atoms and 2 hydrogen atoms. In ethyne, the 2 carbon atoms share 3 pairs of electrons among themselves to form a carbon-carbon triple bond. Each carbon atom shares 1 electron with each hydrogen